Okay, so I know this information is a couple days old at this point. I just haven't had a chance to really sit down and talk about it, and I kind of wanted to make a video out of the strangeness of this situation. So, first and foremost, Friday the 13th, right? Big franchise, Jason, probably the most iconic horror slasher, and maybe the most iconic looking character in all of horror, just in general. Like, even if you've never seen a Friday the 13th movie, everybody knows the general idea of what this image is. But there hasn't been a Friday the 13th movie since 2009, and for a very long time there was a legal battle at play between the screenwriter of the original Friday the 13th movie, technically the person that created the characters, and then Sean Cunningham, the director of the original, and just a lot of different lines of red tape that I'll go over in more detail in the Friday the 13th retrospective video that I did a few years back. But essentially, that got settled, and now they are moving forward with creating some kind of content, including Jason and Friday the 13th. And for a while, the only thing that tied fans over was the Friday the 13th video game, which essentially was just relegated to be an asymmetrical online style game that all the servers shut down, and now it's basically useless. You can still kind of play it against the computer, but like it's just it's a shadow of its former self. And there was an announcement of a series that was going to be streaming on Peacock called Crystal Lake, which was supposed to be only using elements from the original Friday the 13th, meaning basically that it was probably going to focus around Jason's mom, Pamela Voorhees from the original film, and they even had Adrienne King, I think that's her name, the actress from the original Friday the 13th that was going to be in that series playing a different character, but then that all got scrapped. There was creative differences, there was COVID, and so production got halted and everything got turned around. The lawsuit was settled, and just think the original version of Crystal Lake got thrown out the window. And now we have a new version of Crystal Lake that is coming that is essentially going to deal with the same premise. Linda Cardinelli, I believe, is going to be playing Jason's mom, who was Velma from Scooby-Doo and also in Freaks and Geeks, which was a great show back in the day. Can't blame people for being a little bit confused on the status of Friday the 13th. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just drop this image, right? So this comes out a couple of days ago, and it says the rights holders over at Jason Universe, we'll get to that in a second, Jason Universe unveiled their brand new Jason Voorhees design with new version of Jason set to lead movies, gaming, immersive experiences, collectibles, and more. Makeup effects by legendary Greg Nicotero helped with the redesign, and we're going to throw that on the comment to make sure that nobody gets mad about it. Oh, but people did. People did. And I gotta say, look, you would think that Jason is a very simple design, right? And you would think, if you just looked at this casually, if this was just like somebody's artwork or a cosplay or somebody wearing this for Halloween, you'd be like, yo, you look like Jason. That's Jason Voorhees. But when you're announcing this as the definitive look to the upcoming whatever Friday the 13th is going to be for Jason, a lot of people have issues with this, and I know it seems a little dumb, but listen, in the horror community, people can get very specific about their horror characters. I mean, how many times have they gotten the mask wrong for Michael Myers, right? Like, so many of the Halloween movies would be immediately enhanced if they could just get the goddamn mask right. But Jason never really usually had that problem. I don't recall anybody ever getting too upset about how Jason's mask looks in any of the films, but they got mad about this one, and there's a couple of reasons why. There's a closer up image here. Okay, so there's a couple of reasons why. The first reason is this is not what the hockey mask has looked like in any of the other films, and that's the thing about Friday the 13th as well, is that it's usually pretty consistent about the way that Jason looks. He pretty much has the same exact mask from like part 3 up until part 3 and 4, and then even coming back in 6. And I understand this is a rebooted version, so it's going to look different, but there's a lot of problems to start with. All right, let's just start with like the design of the mask to begin with. The square eyes are weird. The red mark above the eyes is a little bit too elongated, kind of makes him look like he has an angry unibrow. And they distinctly put 13 holes in the mask because Friday the 13th. So overall, it's like a little too much. It's like they're trying to make the mask look like an evil mask rather than just having it be a hockey mask, right? So there's that. And the other thing is that this image, this reveal, is just weird. It's strange because we don't really have anything to go on in terms of the future of the franchise or anything. And it's just very odd that your first reveal to the world of Jason, the brand new Jason in the brand new Friday the 13th universe, is this, I don't know if it's actually AI, but it kind of looks AI generated, of just, it's just a weird image. And then the caption is like, hey, this is going to be on all of our merchandise. It's like, hey, here's Jason, buy our stuff. It just seems like the wrong approach for the announcement. Like, overall, I'm not saying the design is terrible, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna like pick it apart that deeply. And if they do go with this mask, whatever, it is what it is. I don't personally like it, but it wouldn't ruin, you know, unless the movie was trash, it wouldn't ruin the experience. I survived Halloween 4. I would survive this. But it just is a strange way to make the announcement when we don't really have anything yet. And it just feels like the point of this so far, and I hope that I'm proven wrong, but it feels like the point of this so far is just basically like, hey, we're going to sell you shit, buy it. And at the end of the day, okay, yeah, it is all marketing and it is all made to make money. I mean, people don't make movies for free. I get it, right? But like, have a little subtlety about it. You know what I mean? Like, give us a product before you give us the merchandise. You know what I mean? So yeah, it just seems like a very strange way to do the announcement. Now, I get the design choice in the sense of they're trying to make Jason look way more human, because from what I gather, there's a little bit of an article here over on bloodydisgusting.com. I'll link it down below. But from the comments here, which basically say, we strive to maintain Jason's original essence while continuing to move forward, yada yada. Listening to fans to develop a slate under the Jason Universe banner that spans new movies, gaming, immersive experiences, collectibles, and more. I get it, and I do think it's cool that they're expanding the property, and if they do come up with another video game, I think that would be a good idea. Just make sure that this one actually stays, available for people. And like, I understand the approach. Like, I understand the idea. We have one of the biggest horror slashers of all time. We want to bring them back, and you want to do it as immersive and expansive as possible, right? And this also leads me to think that this is a complete reboot, and this is not going to be connected to the originals. One is the design, because this is far removed from any of the more recent Jasons, and even the remake. It looks closer to the remake from 2009, but I think this is going to be another remake. And I think that part of the, Jason universe or whatever they're trying to create is that Crystal Lake will probably serve as the origin. The prequel, it'll show Pamela Voorhees' story, and the first movie will have Jason. Because there's this part of Jason lore that you kind of need to have, and that's the fact that his mother was the killer first. But it seems like people don't want to do that in the movies anymore, because Jason himself is so popular and kind of the icon, the brand of the entire franchise, that when you go to see a Friday the 13th movie, you go to see Jason at this point. And I understand that. And because of that fact, it kind of makes sense that they would do the Jason mom stuff in a separate medium, in a TV series, and then do Jason in a movie. It just seems like that's the direction they're going to go, because you can't really recapture the first Friday the 13th. They tried to speed run it in the 2009 remake. They showed Jason's mom in like the first 5 minutes and she gets killed immediately. But the original Friday the 13th movie, like the very first one, it's supposed to be a mystery. You're not supposed to know who the killer is. And you can't really do that anymore because everybody knows, So it's just not going to work the same way. I think it would be really interesting if they did that and they included Jason's mom as a regular character through the movie rather than just having her show up at the end. But still, your prime audience, your main demographic, the people that would go see the movie, they would all know that she's the killer anyway. So you just couldn't do it that way. So I think that that's the way they're going to go. Prequel series, Crystal Lake. First movie will have Jason, and because they're rebooting, Jason's probably going to start out as that survivor in the woods, maybe arguably human like he was in Friday the 13th Part 2, 3, and 4, and that's why they're starting with this design of Jason where he's more human looking than typical zombie Jason. But my main issue with it, besides just generally thinking the design is kind of mid, but if this is the design that's in the movie, that's fine. I could live with it. But I just don't like the way that they're doing the announcement. It seems very strange that your first look at a brand new Jason, when we haven't seen Jason since 2009, almost 20 years, is like an AI rendered concept design image. And maybe they're doing this like specifically to test the waters to get reception so they can fix the design before the movie comes out. And if that's the case, well, they got a lot of negative reception, so that's probably what they're working on now. I don't really know who is like fully in charge of the Friday the 13th brand right now. I still think it's kind of like separated into a lot of different hands that have to come to agreements on things. But I'm going to try, despite all of my gripes and criticism with the way that they announced this and just not being a fan of the design, really, I'm going to try still to give it the benefit of the doubt, because if this works, if Crystal Lake comes out as a show and it's really good, and if they make a new Friday the 13th movie that continues from that and it's really good, and they are able to make a new video game that maybe has a lot of the aspects that people liked from the Friday the 13th game, but maybe gave us more of a story mode or a single player mode, please, for the love of God, please. But yeah, if they were able to do that, and if they're able to make all of these different things work, and as much as I hate this concept of like everything needs to be a universe, they tried it with the Dark Universe with the Universal monsters and it fell apart after one movie. I just don't like calling it a universe before we have anything established. I feel like you might be shooting yourself in the foot, But if they are able to do it, I think everything from this article, from this post, from this release, all of it will be forgivable, right? But that's going to depend on how the future goes. So let me know what you guys think. I've been wanting to comment about this. I do have, if anybody made it this far in the video, one final thing I want to say. There are a couple of different movie announcement things that come out that I feel the need to comment on, but I don't want to make an entire video out of them. How would you guys feel if I made a video that's like, I kind of wanted to talk about this, and then there's information about the new Alien Earth series. Some people wanted me to comment on the Superman trailer. There's like all these like little things that I don't feel like would benefit an entire video. So maybe if I did like a grouping of topics in one video, or maybe I did like a half an hour to hour long live stream where instead of just taking questions or comments, I just, talk about the topics and try to get people to talk about the topics with me. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But besides that, let me know what you think of the Jason stuff. And I'm holding out hope. I just really don't like the rollout of these announcements. I don't like the way that they did it, but I'm gonna keep it an open mind. So yeah,